Have you ever stopped to think about what might happen to someone who racially discriminates against a millionaire? Well, after you hear this story, you'll have a clear idea. The grand lobby of Fairview National Bank exuded a sense of sophistication and luxury. The marble floors shimmered under the sparkling crystal chandeliers, and the air carried the delicate scent of freshly polished wood and vibrant flowers. Behind the counters, tellers worked diligently, their polite smiles reserved for a clientele that was accustomed to nothing less than impeccable service. At the far end of the room, the bank manager, Susan Harding, sat in her glass-walled office, a perfect picture of professionalism. She was impeccably dressed in a tailored gray suit, projecting an air of authority and control. That afternoon, a woman named Danielle Carter stepped into the bank. She was tall, poised, and dressed simply yet elegantly in a black dress paired with comfortable flats. Her natural hair was styled neatly, and she carried a sleek, black leather handbag. Everything about her spoke of style, class, and grace. Danielle's demeanor was calm and confident, but as she glanced around the lobby, she couldn't help but notice a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Conversations grew quieter, and a few heads turned her way, their gazes lingering just a little longer than necessary. She walked over to the information desk where a young receptionist greeted her with a nervous smile. "Good afternoon. How may I help you?" the receptionist asked with forced politeness. "Hi," Danielle replied, her voice friendly yet firm. "I'm here to discuss opening a high-value account. I'd like to speak with the manager." The receptionist's smile faltered, her unease apparent. "Of course, please wait here," she said, quickly scurrying towards Susan's office. She cast a glance back at Danielle, confirming she had heard her correctly. Inside her office, Susan looked up from her computer screen as the receptionist leaned in, whispering, "There's a woman here who wants to open a high-value account." The receptionist hesitated, lowering her voice further. She doesn't look like our typical client." Susan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" The receptionist hesitated, carefully choosing her words. "Well, she's not dressed like someone opening a high-value account." She paused, but it was clear the first thing that stood out to her wasn't Danielle's attire, but her skin color, something she found, for reasons she couldn't explain, very distracting. Susan sighed and closed her laptop. "All right, I'll handle this," she said, standing up with an air of determination. When Susan walked into the lobby, her professional smile barely masked the judgment flickering in her eyes as she assessed Danielle. "Hello, I'm Susan Harding, the branch manager. How can I assist you today?" Danielle extended her hand with a firm, confident shake. "Hi, I'm Danielle Carter. I'm interested in opening a new account." Susan shook her hand briefly, her grip loose, barely acknowledging the gesture. "What type of account are you looking to open?" "A high-value account," Danielle responded matter-of-factly. "I recently liquidated some assets, and I'm looking for a secure place to manage my funds." Susan's smile tightened, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. "I see. And may I ask how much you're looking to deposit?" Danielle met her gaze, without hesitation. "Around $8 million. Susan's eyebrows shot up for a brief second before she quickly regained her composure. "That's quite a sum," she said, the words laced with skepticism. "Do you have any documentation to support this?" Danielle's eyebrows furrowed at the question. Why would she even ask something so unnecessary? She thought. "Of course," she replied, reaching into her sleek handbag to pull out a folder with bank statements, proof of sale from her previous investments, and other relevant documents. Susan glanced at the papers, but didn't bother to take them. Instead, she crossed her arms, her posture rigid. "Miss Carter," she began, "accounts of this size are typically handled through our private banking division. I'm not sure this branch can accommodate your needs." Danielle frowned, her voice steady but firm. "I was under the impression that this branch offers comprehensive services for all account holders, regardless of account size." "We do," Susan said, her tone growing sharper, "but we're selective about the clients we take on. Maintaining these accounts requires a certain level of mutual understanding and trust." Danielle's eyes narrowed slightly. "Are you implying that you don't trust me?" Susan hesitated, clearly flustered. "That's not what I mean." I just think you might find a better fit at another institution, one that's more familiar with your circumstances. Danielle's jaw tightened, her patience wearing thin. And what circumstances would those be? She asked, her voice a mix of frustration and disbelief, wondering if this was truly just a misunderstanding. Before we continue, we'd like to ask you to show your support by subscribing and liking this video. Don't let Susan's actions go unnoticed. Susan glanced around, lowering her voice. Miss Carter, I'm just trying to save us both some time. Clients opening accounts of this magnitude typically arrive with prior introductions or recommendations. It's standard procedure. Danielle took a deep breath, steadying herself before responding. So, let me get this straight. Despite having the necessary documentation and funds, you're refusing to open an account for me because I didn't come with a referral? Or is it because of how I look? Susan's face flushed as she realized Danielle was catching on to her prejudice, which was becoming more apparent by the second. I didn't say that, Susan said, her voice filled with panic. You didn't have to, Danielle responded, her tone calm but resolute. I'd like to speak with someone higher up. Susan's lips pressed into a thin line, her patience running out. I am the highest-ranking manager at this branch. There's no one else for you to speak with. Danielle nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. All right then, I'll escalate this myself. The following morning, Danielle sat in the corporate offices of Fairview National Bank, meeting with the regional director, Michael Green. He had personally requested to meet with her after receiving a detailed complaint about the incident at the branch. Miss Carter, Michael said, leaning forward, I'd like to sincerely apologize for your experience. What happened yesterday does not reflect our values as an institution. Danielle nodded politely. Thank you, Mr. Green. But apologies alone won't address the deeper issue here. What happened wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was systemic bias. Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're absolutely right, and I assure you, we take this matter very seriously. May I ask how you'd like to proceed? Danielle placed the same folder of documents on the table. I still want to open an account with Fairview National, but I need to know that your team is truly committed to creating a better environment for all clients, not just the ones who fit a certain profile. Michael nodded firmly. You have my word, Miss Carter. We will begin by addressing the behavior at the branch level and implementing mandatory training programs for all employees. Later that week, Susan was called into a meeting with Michael and a representative from the bank's Human Resources Department. As she listened to the complaints about her conduct, her confidence crumbled. She hadn't expected her actions to lead to such serious consequences. Susan, Michael said sternly, Fairview National Bank has built its reputation on trust, respect, and inclusivity. Your actions not only jeopardized that reputation but also deeply disrespected a valued client. I didn't mean to, Susan began, but Michael raised a hand to stop her. Intent doesn't negate impact, he said firmly. Effective immediately, you'll be placed on administrative leave while we review your position. Susan's face turned pale. Please, Mr. Green, give me a chance to make it right. Michael's expression softened slightly. That's not for me to decide. You'll have the opportunity to respond during the review process. Over the next few months, Fairview National rolled out new training programs focused on diversity and customer service. Danielle became a trusted advisor for the bank, consulting on policies to ensure all clients were treated with respect and dignity. Her story, once shared publicly, sparked important conversations about discrimination in the financial industry and the importance of accountability. As for Susan, she never returned to her position at Fairview. The incident served as a humbling reminder of the consequences of her actions and the critical importance of treating everyone with fairness. The bank was even disappointed that someone like Susan had managed to rise so high within their institution, but at least they now recognized that people like her existed, and it was time for change. For Danielle, the experience became a reminder of her strength and the power of standing up against injustice, no matter how subtle it might seem.